Hey guys, what's up? Dingocrikey here with another Transformers commentary video, and this is going to be kind of a different one. In this one, I'm not going to be really being objective or analyzing something. Here I'm just going to be giving my personal opinions, my take on what I want to see in the Transformers films, and not necessarily getting into characters or plot lines, just kind of talking on general terms. So just a heads up, this may be sort of like a casual ramble, rant, something sort of like that. Anyways, on a general level, sort of generalizing to a broader scope, what do I want to see in the Transformers films, or what do I want to see them be like? Two schools of opinion seem to be either your people who love the Bayformers Transformers, or the people who like G1 or just traditional Transformers in general and want the movies to really go back to that and have heavy emphasis on the source material. And I know that everyone has their own unique opinions on it, but generally, over the, what's it been, like 10 years almost that the films have been around, that seems to be, the two ways of thinking that I've seen on this. And at this point in time, I really don't want either of these for the upcoming Transformers films, or if they were to reboot. All I really want at this point is a good movie. And I know that's a very subjective thing, but I'll get into that a little bit later. If we're talking about Bayformers, Michael Bay's live-action Transformers films, if you've been on the channel, I'm not necessarily a hater of the films, unless it's Revenge of the Fallen. I think they're getting better with Age of Extinction. Dark of the Moon was also pretty good, but I'm not the biggest fan of them, and there's a lot of negative sentiments toward them within the Transformers community. If you like the films, that's your own opinion. I don't have a problem with that, but basically if I were to say, the way the films are now isn't a good place for Transformers, I think most people would know what I mean. Even if you do like the films, you can probably understand why other people might not like them, or might not like them as much as you do. But what I see is a lot of people seem to think the solution to this, and I know I thought this myself too at a time, is that basically if they add more G1, more traditional Transformers, just basically whether it's from G1 Armada, basically make it more like the Transformers we know, the films would become better. And the more I'm watching, the more I realize that wouldn't fix the films. In my opinion, my own take on it, there's a much deeper fundamental problem with the films, or I guess I should say problems, as to why they're not good movies, other than the fact that they're not like the Transformers we all know. As for one thing, Transformers has been many different things in the past, but that's a whole nother story. But in short, we could have Optimus Prime being his traditional truck, Megatron transforming into a gun, the original Transform sound effect, heck, they could even play Till All Are One or something. It's still not going to fix, Michael Bay's directing style, which personally I'm not a big fan of. How erratic the films are, the writing, the humor, the perversion. If they have all of this, G1 skin on top of it, so to speak, that doesn't fix all of these problems with the film. If they add in more of their iconic lines, if anything, I think that takes away from the film, because a lot of times it comes off as forced, in my opinion. I mean, for example, we had Optimus say the "one shall stand, one shall fall" line in the 2007 film, and it didn't make the fight any better. It was just, okay, it was in there, it happened, and the movie was still its worth because of it. Basically what I'm getting at is dealing with the whole issue with I guess pandering to fans, and I am one of those fans, and I'm saying I don't like them doing it. I see this with the MCU, and what really, I guess, motivated me to do this video was a recent video by I Hate Everything called I Hate Superhero Movies, where he's more talking about superhero movies, doesn't really address Transformers, but I think he nails a lot of what's wrong with these films, is that they don't really rely on being good movies anymore so much as just, they know people will buy these toys, they know these franchises can sell, they know they can build it up to a bigger movie, so they, basically rely on that. And that isn't the case for all of them, but that does seem to be a big part of it. He can put it a lot better. Go watch I Hate Everything's video. He probably wrote that out and all this stuff. I'm just kind of speaking off the top of my head. But for example, recently I had seen Batman vs. Superman. I know a lot of comic book fans weren't happy with some of the directions with the characters, but I would say there was definitely a whole lot of pandering in there. I don't even know a whole lot about the DC universe, but I could pick up on some of the things, having the sort of reveal of all of the people in the Justice League, the time travel thing, that whole, those weird aliens from the future or whatever they were. Basically all of this stuff, which, might have been cool if you're fans of the comics, but my question is, if you're looking at this as a critic or just as a casual viewer, does it make the movie any better? Even as a fan, I've seen Transformers throw back to the original continuity or previous continuity so much that it really gets annoying at a certain point. Even Transformers Animated kind of had some homages with characters such as Hotshot to Armada, which was the cartoon I grew up with as a kid, and it's initially kind of cool, but animated wasn't good because, Megatron kind of looked like G1 Megatron, or this character homaged this part of a previous rendition of Transformers. When animated was good, it was good because of the new character development they were doing, the way that the stories were coming together, the voice acting, all of those elements. I don't think it was just good because it had, more references to previous things in Transformers than any other show. And the movies definitely aren't at that point right now. It might almost sound crazy that I'm talking about this, but I'm worried that the films could basically start following everything else and basically giving us G1 and recycled storylines over and over again rather than coming up with new things. I mean, I don't like everything that the films have done, but they have introduced some new cool concepts into Transformers. I mean, we have a potential way that the Transformers originate now with the Allspark. We would have never had that if they had strictly abided to Generation 1. I mean, the way I look at it, we have the Generations toy lines and, all of their sublines, whether it be Titans Return or Combiner Wars. That is what those lines are supposed to do. They're supposed to recreate G1 and give us accurate representations or modern interpretations, whichever side of that fence you're on. But then we have recreations of Generation 1 in the video games, in the books, the shows. The shows do a pretty good job at coming up with original characters and concepts, and I haven't gone too deep into the comics yet, but even there they do reuse a lot of those traditional characters, which I don't have a problem with in themselves. But for example, could you picture right now a series such as Beast Wars coming out, where we basically have a totally different cast transforming into something totally different, just a really, really crazy weird setup for Transformers? We don't have anyone such as Prowl, Bumblebee, or Ratchet, or even guys like Starscream. Personally, I would love if next year the concept art for the new toys or some new show looked like the Trans Tech designs. Go look those up. They're crazy different, and I think that's cool because even if you don't like that, it can recreate itself in a different way the next year. And I just think Transformers is hindered from doing that, and personally I don't want the movies falling into that trend. But like I said, this was kind of going to be a rant, but I'm gonna try to get back on topic here, deflating this and bringing it back to where it was. I'm not saying I want to see Bayformers forever. You guys who watch my channel know that, I'm not the biggest Bayformers fan. But me personally, I don't want to just see a straight up Generation 1 live action adaptation either. There's a whole other issue of things that I don't think really work so well in one form of media that work really well in another. For example, if anyone watches the TV show Walking Dead, I think the early seasons did a really good job at taking what was in the comic books and putting them on screen, whereas in these later seasons, we have a good deal of stuff that seems to be, in my opinion, trying to stick way too closely to what was done in the graphic novel. If anyone watches the show, you might remember a scene where the main character, Rick Grimes, is giving a speech, and there's sort of a big moment where he says, "We are the Walking Dead," and it's significant because of the context it's put in, and the fact that, it's the title of the show, it's finally being said. I haven't read the graphic novels, know a lot about them, and I've read parts of them here and there. Seems to work well in there. They try to adapt something really similar, not the exact thing for TV, kind of like the One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall line in the 2007 film, and it just doesn't come off good. It comes off as really corny, and that's, some of the same things I find with other comic book or book adaptations. I mean, maybe someone out there would say that, well, I'm not a fan of a lot of the source material, so that might be why I feel this way, and, you know, I guess that's kind of true, but one thing I could think of is that I'm a fan of a good amount of the Star Wars EU stuff, like the Thrawn trilogy, some of Timothy Zahn's books, but I don't have a problem with them doing something different for these movies, you know, because, for one thing, I still have those books, I can still enjoy them, it's not like Disney's taking them away, and also, you know, reading them, I could see why this might not work so well in, like, a movie adaptation. I mean, you also have the actors being older, but there's just some things that, you know, probably wouldn't work out so well in a movie that work well in a book. I think the same thing goes for Transformers. There's some things that work well in G1 when they try to put them into the games or into the films, just feel really forced. And I know a lot of people seem to like it, and I don't have a problem with that. Personally, it doesn't cut it for me. It's kind of like what we had with Sam Raimi or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films and Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, which are strangely two movie series that overall I love, and were also mentioned I Hate Everything's video. And I think these are great movies in themselves. They have a really good self-contained story and storylines other than Spider-Man 3. They have their own themes, their own takes on the characters, and you can very easily understand them without getting into the comic books, and they're very much their own adaptations. They work really well. A lot of people didn't seem to be happy with them because they didn't seem like they were true enough to the comics and stuff. I can see that point of view. It makes sense. But the longer I've been around, the more I'm kind of realizing, you know, if you can have it, be accurate to its source material, you definitely want some of your core concepts kept there. Like the character Spider-Man would be pretty essential to Spider-Man, transforming robots to Transformers, but maybe not everything from the source material would make for a good film, or maybe it would be, too above the heads of audience, require too much backstory. Just not work well in what a movie storyline can do, then maybe it should be left out. Maybe you can do something different. That's ultimately what I want to see with the Transformers films. If they reboot it, I want to see good self-contained stories. I don't want to just see a ton of pandering. I don't want to see G1 told over again. I want to see stories that work within the films. Let's say they do a trilogy, set up a trilogy, have a good story there, some good characters, introduce some new concepts in Transformers, and, basically do something cool with it, something that non-Transformers fans can enjoy too. And I could probably ramble a lot longer, so I'm going to wrap things up here. Once again, this is a personal opinion-based type of video. I'm sure there are all sorts of different points of view out there regarding this subject. Hope I didn't sound too harsh on any of them. If you want to represent those, you can of course drop that off in the comment section below, your own thoughts on this subject. Kind of just wanted to, represent this point of view, talk about my thoughts on more of a general level, and like I said, you have some differing opinions, you agree with some of my points, please drop it off in the comment section below. I'm really interested in discussing this topic. Also, if you would like to hear me elaborate more on anything that I kind of touched on in this video, drop that off in the comment section below as well, along with any other topic suggestions pertaining to the future Transformers films, the upcoming Titans Return line, Robots in Disguise cartoon, basically anything Transformers related. You can also keep up with the channel for more regular uploads. Anyways, that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good one. See you soon.